Many longtime fans to the channel know that I am a huge Final Fantasy fan. Spoons is a play of the quote from Final Fantasy IV, "You spoony bard." Part of that love and admiration for Final Fantasy came from Final Fantasy VII. Final Fantasy VII was an experience that defined a generation of gamers. I also think that Final Fantasy VII has one of the best narratives present in a video game, and it still holds up to this day. When I heard Square Enix was remaking Final Fantasy VII, my reaction was indifferent. One part of me thought this was cool. I got to see how the game would look with modern graphics, built in an engine that could far surpass the FMV, something as a teenager that I dreamed of seeing. Never did I think that this would be a reality. But part of me was also skeptic, as Square Enix and I, as of late, have had a very rocky road. For every great game that they've released some games that I haven't been a huge fan of. Final Fantasy XV, though good, also left me very disappointed. Kingdom Hearts 3 was a shell with no heart. I've been skeptic how this game will turn out, though I've remained optimistic more so than the other naysayers. The game looks incredible, and Square Enix has done a beautiful job rebuilding some of the scenes and setting off my nostalgia feelers with what they have shown. But the demo took me by surprise. My expectations were low. They just didn't exceed my expectations, it exceeded my expectations of what Square Enix could accomplish with the demo. The demo has pretty much abolished any bit of negativity or worries that I have had about the combat system. And I have no doubt that it is going to be incredible, because hot damn, it looks amazing. First, let's get the negative out of the way, and what perhaps was my whole complaint about the entire demo. Classic mode sucks. I get the reasoning Square Enix wanted to do this, to reel in those fans who wanted a more traditional combat system akin to the original, but it sucked in 15 and it sucks here. The idea behind it is the game attack blocks and dodges for you, so you just have to focus on inputting your commands when the ATB gauge fills up. The problem with this mode, the game practically plays itself, and most enemies are destroyed before you have a chance to input anything, making the mode pointless. Classic mode needs at the very least a normal mode to make it work, but it's not the focus of the gameplay, and it doesn't feel rewarding. However, classic mode isn't the meat and potatoes. That belongs to the action combat, and oh boy, is it good. The combat really takes a culmination of everything that Square Enix has been working on for the past decade, taking elements from Kingdom Hearts, Final Fantasy XV, and Final Fantasy XIII. It takes the best elements out of all of those titles and combines them together to make a fluid combat system that is not only different, but unique in execution. Your basic attacks are assigned to Square. You will be using this for your basic attacks, and depending on your character, you'll be using triangle as well. More on that when we talk about Barret. Cloud has two modes. Operation mode, which is more of a defensive mode. This is the mode you will use to block long-range attacks and magic, at the cost of doing less damage. The second mode, Punisher, is a more brutal style that deals massive damage. This is not only a quick way to take care of a group of enemies, but it comes with its own tactical advantages and disadvantages. Punisher mode lets you do more damage as well as counter normal physical attacks. However, magic attacks or long-range attacks will automatically take you back to operation mode. There were two scenarios I really found Punisher mode useful. This was fighting the sweeper enemy. After it was staggered, I was able to switch over to Punisher mode, allowing me to deal massive damage to the enemy and take it out relatively quickly. The other enemy encounter this became a necessity was the Shock Troopers. Shock Troopers initially kicked my ass and downed Cloud a couple of times. However, as I got more accustomed to the way it played and how the combat worked, I was able to take them down with relative ease. As I stated earlier, Punisher mode allows you to do a counterattack automatically when blocking a regular physical attack. This left the Shock Trooper vulnerable, and I was able to take them down very quickly. It's moments like this that I think the combat stands out. Playing it on normal actually has difficulty. there is an understanding that needs to come from the combat and the mechanics and how things work. Once Barret is introduced into the party, things change up a bit. Barret is a tank. Cloud can take a beating, but Barret can absorb more damage. Square is his normal attacks and doesn't do a lot of damage, but as a compromise, Barret's ATB gauge fills up faster. He also has a move called Quick Charge, which fires a succession of shots quickly, increasing his ATB gauge. Barret also has two abilities, one ability that helps him stagger enemies a lot quicker. I forgot to mention Cloud has this ability too. He also has an ability called Steel Skin, which not only reduces the amount of damage done to Barret, but it also makes it so he has less of a chance of getting his moves interrupted, which is quite useful. Barret is also able to hit long range and flying enemies, so it's essential for him to take out the sentry turrets that Cloud cannot reach. You are able to freely switch between characters, and mastering each character is going to factor into how you're able to take down the bosses, because the Guard Scorpion isn't a pushover. It makes you work for it. So let's talk about that. The Guard Scorpion fight is intense, difficult, and will kick your ass if you go in unprepared. It is not necessarily difficult, but it does require you to take what you've learned in the demo and use it to take it down. One thing I haven't mentioned is the stagger gauge. Staggering was an element from Final Fantasy XIII that I really enjoyed, and 13's combat system got a lot better during post-gameplay as you were able to play around with the different classes. Final Fantasy VII took those elements and ran with it, perfecting it. Staggering works much like it did in Final Fantasy XIII. You use your attacks, you stagger an enemy, some attacks do it quicker. Using lightning on a sweeper or the Guard Scorpion will build up the pressure gauge. Fill that up, and you staggered your enemies. This is when you can go in and land a flurry of attacks. I quickly found that using Barret to cast Thunder and his ability to charge his ATB gauge quicker came in handy. I'd land hit after hit with lightning, get Cloud to do the occasional thrust ability to help keep that pressure on the enemy, stagger them, and then switch back to Cloud using Punisher mode to deal massive damage to the enemy. I've never quite played an action RPG that made me put so much thought into how I played. You'll utilize guard and dodge against the Scorpion to also increase your ATB gauge. The Scorpion has phases and you will have to work through, such as a shield. You'll need to get Cloud to attack its weak spot behind its tail. It also has you hiding behind cover to avoid being hit by lasers. It's complex, interesting, and downright fun. Some quick side notes to the combat. Magic can be used to make quick work of soldier enemies, so it's great to quickly dispatch of some of the more troublesome enemies who are far away. And then you can focus your attacks on enemies much closer. I also found fire very effective against the guard dogs, which allowed me to stagger them much more quickly and take them out a lot quicker than normal attacks. It is entirely possible to play the game without tactical mode, which slows down the combat to a snail's pace. It is worth noting it doesn't stop you, it can still take damage, but it slows it down enough you can navigate the menu. You could also use shortcuts that allow you to play strictly in action. It's up to you. But I found using a combination of shortcuts and tactical mode made for the best experience. If I wanted to get off a couple of quick pot shots on the enemy or heal quickly, I'd use my shortcut commands. If I needed that little bit of extra time to heal or slow down enemy movement for a moment, I used tactical mode. I've heard criticisms that the combat feels like it can't decide if it wants to be action or not, but I found myself viewing it as a hybrid. Not so much tactical mode stopping the action, but an extension to the combat system, furthering my plan and strategies. I get how this may not be for everyone, but I found it so much fun, and I personally believe that this is the best combat series the series has ever seen since Square Enix stepped away from traditional gameplay. The graphics look impressive, and something about seeing the bombing mission scene fully realized in HD and experiencing that for yourself got me all nostalgic. The voice cast does an incredible job. I love the banter between the characters back and forth.
What are you, 20-something?
First. Huh? Soldier first class. Doesn't go into their 20s.
The hell you talking about? I mean your age, not your goddamn rank.
As they walk around. Final Fantasy 15 did this, the remake does it too. It gives the characters more personality and gives them something to listen to when exploring or opening chests. Steve Burton as Cloud, I never really did anything for me. I thought he did all right, but it never felt like Cloud showed much emotion. His character was that way to an extent. Cloud's new voice actor, though, adds excitement to Cloud in a subtle way.
Okay, that was pretty cool.
The way it should be, but it's there. Erica Lindbeck does an excellent job as Jessie, and she really stood out.
Those things will hurt more than your pride if you're careless. They'll cut you down to size and then some. But I'm guessing you've done this kind of thing before.
Yeah. Figure out the timing of the lasers. Then, make a move when they cycle off.
Exactly. I'll go first. Nothing like a little danger to get the blood pumping.
Hey!
Just keep those baby blues of yours on me.
But the stealer of the show was John Eric Bentley as Barrett. He nails it, and I cannot see any other person being able to pull this off as well as he does.
All right, let's see if Little Stamp really can bite the hand that feeds. Go on, do the honors. Prove to me you're the man Tifa says you are. That you're one of us.
Never said I was. I'm just here for the paycheck.
Then do the damn job!
The back and forth banter between him and Cloud is great and shows how Bentley is able to land his lines so good. All in all, I feel like the demo gave us a glimpse into what we can expect and melted away a lot of my worries I had about the game. If Maximilian Dude's analysis of the extended demo he got to play is any indicator of what we can expect, it sounds like we are in for one hell of a treat. Square Enix really listened to fans, and they are taking opportunities to not only remake a classic, but expand upon it and build upon it. And give fans a much more fleshed out, much more fun, and engaging story on what was already a great story. This is why I'm not so much worried about the multi-game structure, and I think that's how people need to view it. It's not so much episodic as it is a multi-game structure. It's much like, say, Mass Effect was. You know, you had the first game, the second game, and the third game, and they all kind of came together to tell one massive story about Shepard's fight against the Reapers. So that's how I think this game needs to be viewed, is they're using an opportunity to be able to build this game and expand upon it in many, many different ways. And April 10th cannot come quick enough. You guys have been watching Gaming with Spoons. Be sure to hit subscribe, ring that bell notification to stay up to date with all things JRPG and Japanese gaming related. And most importantly, stay happy, be happy, game happy. Spoons is checking out.